Hi everyone, welcome to day 2 of practice to pass session for SBL. Please confirm if you can hear me clearly. All right, that's great. All right, first things first. So today I have added one extra handout. So if you could check the handouts for today, there are actually 5 different handouts you can see. So there are slides which actually have only the name of the case study which we are going to do. Then we have a handout named solved material. Can you see that? So that solve material merged document is actually all the documents which you guys were asking yesterday. So this one document has 4 different things. It has answers for both the questions we solved yesterday, the Frigate Limited and IIA. Also, in this very same document, you have the artificial intelligence technical article, and then at the end there is some quick notes on risk assurance as promised. So do check this out, download this so that you can refer to it later. The rest of the handouts are for today to refer to. So today we are going to be attempting the September 2018 exam attempt, the past exam. So what I'm going to do is I will be discussing with you all the reading, the planning and writing techniques. So for that, we'll have to go through the entire case study and discuss all the relevant exam techniques and the details. So let's not waste any time and straight away move to the exam question. I am using the PDF version of the question and not the computer-based version for today. I will give you a quick computer-based demo as well in one of the day's case studies. So maybe tomorrow, maybe day after, we'll do the computer-based demo and look at some of the things which you can actually use for your exam. But for now, today, the main focus is going to be how to handle a case study, whether it is in PDF or CB. It doesn't make any difference. Is that okay for everyone? So in the handout section, you have the question, September 2018 past paper, with this little Q mentioned. You have the answer file, and you also have the examiner report of the very same attempt. So no case study is completed without understanding and making sense of the question and the case study, then reading the answer as well as marking scheme. And last element, the last thing which you need to fit in the whole scenario is to read the examiner's report to find out what were the things which students were not able to keep up with and they failed the exam, so that you don't make the same mistake. Brenda, unfortunately, we don't have a WhatsApp for this session, but yes, there is an email address which I would like to share with you. So my email address, everyone please note, if you have any query after these sessions, it is Fasiha Scans at outlook.com. All right, so Fasiha, FASWHASKANS @outlook.com. So you can send in your queries after the sessions as well regarding SBL. All right, shall we start the case study already? If you have downloaded your own set of question, actually you don't need to download it because I'll be reading the entire thing with you. All right. So Luke, yes, you can definitely watch this back. I think the recording is going to be available on ACCA's YouTube. I think they will share the address here. They will share the address of the YouTube channel very shortly to let you know where the recordings will be available. Okay, now let's start. So this case study, September 2018, the first thing, as I said earlier, your exam is going to be computer based. So the structure in terms of presentation of information will be different, as you already know, but I'm using the PDF version because it's easier to annotate on this one. Okay, now let's start. So most of the time, the first exhibit is about the introduction of the company. Then you get all the tasks on the left-hand side of the computer-based exam, and then you have the exhibits, the rest of the exhibits where the information is. So I'm going to start with reading of the introduction. So everyone, please stay with me. So it says that Kuffold Construction Company, CC, is a listed construction company. Its head office is in the capital city, Lamdasha, of the country of Omegland. So just for the sake of understanding, Omegland is the home country. Am I right? Okay, Omegland has two neighboring countries. Omegland has two neighboring countries, Elfia and Beetle. The countryside in both Elfia and Omegland is generally flat. So there is the similarity between Elfia and Omegland, the home country, that the countryside is flat. In Beetle, there is a large range of mountains, the Ainerdi Mountains, which separates its eastern region from the rest of the country. All three countries use the same currency, the dollar. So they are talking about three different countries. So of course, this company must be doing its business in all three of them, maybe, right? So we'll have to find it out later. Okay, it says that the board of CC comprises, CC stands for the Kuffold Construction Company. So the board of CC comprises 50% executive directors and 50% non-executive directors. The senior board members are Chairman Amina, Chief Executive Burton, Senior Non-Executive Director Alex. All right. CC's core business is to provide support services such as upgrade of electricity networks and road renewal and maintenance in all three countries. However, it has also undertaken road construction projects of increasing size and complexity. So what's their core business? I hope you're noting it down. That they are basically working on upgrading of electric networks and road renewal and maintenance, but they have also started doing the road construction project of increasing size, right? So their scope of work is increasing. Further, it says initially CC carried out most of its major construction projects in Omegland. Its biggest project there being a ring road around the city of Lamdasha. So they're telling you about the company's current work and how they are performing, if they are growing or not, etc. So just to make you familiar with the business environment. Okay, CC also has started to develop a portfolio in Alfia. The biggest development there being a ring road between Fee City and Tow Town, which was completed in 20x0. So the biggest project in Omegland is the ring road around the city of Lamdasha, and the biggest project in Elfia is the road between Fee City and Tow Town, right? So they have already spoken about two countries. To date, CC has not carried out any road construction projects in Beetle. So they haven't done any road construction projects in Beetle, the third country. However, an opportunity has arisen for CC to tender for construction of a major road in Beetle, which would be the biggest project which CC has undertaken to date. So they have a project coming up in Beetle, which is going to be the biggest project till date. So one of the questions, actually a couple of parts of one requirement are around this particular project. Actually more than one requirement, but let's find out. Okay, so because as you know that this file I'm using is from the time when there was the paper-based exam for SBL. So it says that following exhibits provide information relevant to CC, but in the computer-based exam, the examiner says that the exhibits on left side has the information, and then on the left you will have these 6 exhibits in a computer-based assessment form, right? So you can open exhibits one by one. And what do you guys know? Can you copy and paste information in your SBL exam from the exhibits to the answer? Yes or no? All right, great. And apart from copy and pasting, can you highlight information on the exhibits and on the tasks? Is highlight option available there too? So yes, that is available. So use it very, consciously. I am actually highlighting everything, but that is not because everything is important. I am highlighting everything right now just to tell you, just to mention that where exactly I'm reading from. So I'm not highlighting everything because I'm going to use it in my answer. Is that clear? So I think highlighting is one of the features which you will be using a lot, and copy pasting also. But as I told you yesterday as well, that simple copy pasting is not going to get you marks. You will have to add your own analysis to the copy pasted data, your own comment or your own analysis. Okay, now again, in the computer-based environment, you will have the requirements on the left-hand side, and the requirements are named as tasks in SBL. So examiner call them tasks rather than requirements. And each requirement is separately given, so there might be 3 or 4 heads. So you can open each requirement. You can actually copy and paste parts of the requirement as well if you need to. But again, the main idea for today is to concentrate on the exam technique and concepts rather than the computer-based exam tool. We'll be doing that later in one session. We'll talk about the features of computer-based exam. Okay, now requirements. So case requirement number 1. It says that you are Alex Larson, the senior non-executive director. So here is your role, the senior non-executive director, right? And it is always that you are given a strategic level role where you will have to, give suggestions, write reports, etc. CC has been invited to tender for the contract of the construction of the new road in Beetle as the preferred partner of Beetle's government. So you remember that in the introduction, the question says that we are considering a project, construction of a road in Beetle, and now they are telling you that you have been invited to tender for the contract and you are the preferred partner of Beetle's government already, right? But you're not the final chosen partner for the government, you're only the preferred partner. CC's finance team has drawn up financial forecast for the project. So here I will underline this and I will say that there is some forecast. So I'll find it out from the exhibits where exactly this forecast is given, right? Okay. However, you have doubts. Who are you? You are Alex Larson, the senior NED of CC, right? So you have doubts about the contract and you want it to be discussed thoroughly at CC's next board meeting. You are particularly concerned with whether CC will be able to fulfill the criteria stated by Beetle's transport minister. So there is some criteria stated by minister, again a question mark. We'll figure it out from the questions information. Okay, what are we supposed to do? We have to prepare briefing paper. So that is my format. What happens if I do not follow this format of briefing paper? Okay, please tell me. Do you lose marks? You lose one professional skill mark straight away. So just be careful, right? Briefing notes format is nothing fancy. It's just writing brief to the point, write the subject, and just talk to the person through these briefing notes for whom you're writing the notes. So I think by being a little careful, we can get one easy mark. Yeah. Okay, so we have to prepare the briefing paper for the board meeting, which analyzes financial and non-financial issues which will affect the final decision of whether to accept the contract to build the road in Beetle. An examiner clearly says a recommendation is not required. So please note, when the examiner says recommendation not required, you do not give the recommendation, otherwise you're going against the requirement. So stick to the requirement. So I think this requirement is pretty clear cut. Financial and non-financial factors needs to be discussed, but we'll have to keep the balance. Not too many financials, not too many non-financials, balanced. So again, what aspects I'm going to consider will totally depend on the exhibits. I'll first read the information and then I will decide. Okay, there are 18 marks available and these are technical marks. So how many points, guys? So that's the summary I am discussing with you, which you should be writing on your rough sheet if you're going for a center-based exam. So you'll have to make a quick mind map of all the requirements, maybe in a diagram form, maybe in a proper, written form, whatever suits you. So make a summary, but it has to be quick, your own version, and not a long one. So don't waste time. At the same time you're reading the requirements, make the summary along. Okay, so my question was, how many points should I be discussing? Can we keep it like really interactive? Can everyone participate in the discussion? Okay, so I would be writing 9 to 10 points. And maybe I will add the 11th point if I have a lot of information in the exhibits to talk about, maybe not, but 9 minimum, right? Okay, professional skills marks, they will be spread throughout the 100 marks, the 20 total marks. So professional skills marks here for this requirement are available for analysis skills in identifying information which is relevant to the decision. So maybe I'm going to be using multiple exhibits. Maybe I will be explaining my points with proper reason. I will be keeping a balance of financial, non-financial issues. I might be doing some extra calculations, very quick ones. So when I do all of this, and when I explain my answers with reasons, and when I follow my format, I get analysis skills marks. And you cannot undermine the importance of these 4 marks. If you do professional skills right, that can define your passing or failing the exam actually, right? Okay, requirement B on the very same briefing paper, discuss the difficulties. So that's the key word. Discuss the difficulties CC may face in fulfilling the criteria stated by Desmond, the Transport Minister of Beetle. So there is some criteria given by Transport Minister which must be there in some exhibit. So we'll have to calculate the difficulties in meeting that criteria. So for 8 marks again, I will be discussing at least 4 points. And professional skills marks are available for demonstrating commercial acumen and identifying difficulties for CC arising from the criteria which Desmond has stated. So Desmond has given us a very quick criteria in one of the exhibits. Now it is on us to think of ideas that how this criteria will create problems for CC company. So you'll have to give your own ideas, and that's why commercial acumen is tested here. That are you giving the relevant ideas, what difficulties you might face? So thinking about everything and applying proper judgment can get us these marks as well. So first requirement is a total of 32 marks. Now if I have to solve this exam, yeah, so Ilana, this is the right place where you're entering your questions. All right. Rabia, I said that I might add an extra point after my 9 or 10 points if I have some good information in the exhibits to talk about. Is that clear? Yes, Umair, I have also provided the solved answer of CC in today's handouts, okay? So you will get the answer, you can read it later, but right now let's do a version of the exam discussion which a student can easily understand. Okay, now if I am doing this exam, I will make a summary like this. Please have a look at the document I'm sharing on the screen. Can you see it? So I will kind of quickly write task 1, and I will write that I have to discuss the financial as well as non-financial aspects. I will just quickly write that analysis professional skill is tested. I'll have to write 9 to 10 points, right, as we discussed also. And I will also mention the format briefing paper because I don't want to forget about this format and lose my easy marks. I will add one more important point as well to manage time, that how much time is allowed for writing this answer. So I think it's a total of 18 plus 4, 18 technical, 4 professional, 22 marks. So in SBL, listen carefully, in SBL for writing 1 point, basically you have 2 minutes per mark. I'm repeating, you have 2 minutes per mark. So you have 44 minutes to write this answer, which is quite a lot of time. Do you guys understand that? So this is the kind of summary I will be making, but of course I'll be writing it quickly, not wasting any time on it. Similarly, have a look at part B. So in part B, I'll have to discuss the difficulties in minister's criteria. I still don't know what is this criteria in the exhibits. It will be given. The skill is commercial acumen, 4 to 5 points, and briefing paper is this. It's the same briefing paper which we are using for part A. So time allowed for this will be 8 plus 2, 10 marks total, and 1 mark has 2 minutes, 20 minutes are allowed. Again, a lot of time. So if you do this right, and if you're vigilant from the very start of the exam, you will be able to manage time as well. Okay. I can share that this document as well. But we can't share more than 5 handouts, so not today, but I'll do it tomorrow. But Furkan, can you also make your own notes along with, you know, listening to the session? Which I'll do that. I'll be annotating more on this. So I'll share the annotated file if you want. Okay. There is no WhatsApp group, guys. I'm sorry, but there is none in terms of WhatsApp group for this particular webinar. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, can you all confirm if this requirement is clear? Because understanding the requirement is a big part of passing your exam. Because if you misunderstand the requirement, you will write a very different answer, which is not even required, and you're wasting your time, you're not getting any marks. So make sure you understand the requirement, maybe read them twice if you have to, because a misunderstood requirement is worse than, you know, it's the worst thing you can do. Okay. Shall we move on? Can you please confirm if this is clear to everyone? And please make sure, take a pen and paper, make your own summary in your own way. Define your own way that this is how you're going to make the summary every time for practice and every time and in the exam, right? So you'll have to make sure that everything is defined and practiced for before your exam. All right, guys, next requirement. So now requirement number 2 says that CC has been awarded the contract to build the road in Beetle. So do you see that in requirement 1, we were talking about considering factors which will affect the final decision, etc. And now in requirement 2, some time has passed and they say that CC has now won the contract to construct this road in Beetle. It is now January 20x2. So in requirement 1, what was the time? I think it wasn't mentioned, but some few months onwards. It's now January and planning for the project has started. So the question already sounds like project management here. Yeah, so I am going in the specific order. I'm reading all the requirements in the order, and I think that's the best order, not just reading and also writing the answer as well. So going in the sequence is the best way, but sometimes you can change the sequence if you prefer to write the answer for any particular part first and the other ones later. Kagan, is that okay? Albert, do you have a question? Okay, guys, I will. Yeah, so I think it's always good to read the requirements first and then read the exhibits so that you are clear about what to look for in the exhibit. Do you guys agree with me that requirements first and then exhibits? But I think it's a very natural process. You will have to reread your requirements, then you will have to go back to exhibits and maybe reread them. So everything has to be, mixed up eventually. But I think I should start with my requirements so that I know what to answer for, what areas to look for in the exhibits. But one thing supports the other. That's the natural thing, right? Exactly. That's the thing. Same with me. Okay, guys. There's one thing which I missed at the beginning, but let me discuss requirement 2 and then I will come to that. So requirement 2 is CC has been awarded the contract and the planning for the project has already started, and it says that you are Joe Isa, the project manager for the construction of road in Beetle. So now this is a classic example, this case study, where you are given different roles. So in requirement 1, your role was very different. You were the NED and now you are the project manager. It doesn't matter actually. Both roles are strategic, so the tone might be same, but there's a little trick in this requirement. Okay, further it says that you have just been appointed. Just a second. Okay, so you have just been appointed project manager as the original project manager left CC suddenly 1 month ago. So you are the replacement and you are the manager. Oliver, the junior member of the project team. So I will highlight this, that Oliver is the junior member of the project team. So your junior began to draft the project initiation document during the time when no one was acting as project manager. So I hope that you know what project initiation document is and what the contents of this document are, right? So it's the detailed document for the entire project, from the very first idea of the project till planning and everything about the project. Okay, he has prepared for your review the outline contents of project initiation document and a summary of the section on the operational issues affecting the project. Okay, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to prepare a memo format. So to, from, date, subject, and then you start that this memo is going to discuss whatever you have to discuss, and then you straight away come to your points of the answer. So prepare a memo addressed to Oliver. So who you to whom this memo is addressed to? Somebody senior or somebody junior? Yeah, very clearly, junior member of the team. So the tone will be polite yet very firm and will be highlighting the issues very clearly. So not going to be sugarcoating the things. You don't talk to juniors like that. Be very clear, open yet polite, and offer help through the memorandum, right? Okay. Now it says that prepare a memo addressed to Oliver. which critically evaluates the outline contents, number one, and so whenever there's and, just be conscious there is one more part of the requirement. So critically evaluate means whatever is right, tell that very clearly, and whatever is wrong, clearly tell that why do you think it's not right. So critically evaluate the outline contents and the summary of operational issues. So both the things in the project initiation document. So project initiation documents has both the contents and operational issues. So if I just talk about contents and not talk about operational issues, I might lose good number of marks. So I can't do that. Okay. Okay. So critically evaluate this, which he has prepared. And there is a third part, recommend improvements. So you see that last two words are very quickly written, recommend improvement. So what if I forget about it? What will happen? Can you tell me? So if I forget about recommending the improvement to the document, because I'm the senior and I'm telling the junior to improve the document, I will lose marks. And total marks available here are, if you see, are 14. So you might be losing 4 to 5 marks by not giving recommendations, and we can't do that. It is as simple as that. So overall, how many points I need to be talking about? 7 to 8 maybe, depending on what I will be finding in the PID and the operational summary. So I'll have to be careful that there are 3 aspects. Professional skills marks are available for skepticism. Why? Because I'm critically evaluating a document. Remember the question we did yesterday? The IIA question where the NPV, the project, basically business case was given. So that was, it's the same kind of requirement. You're again critically evaluating something done by another person and you're suggesting improvement. So of course, you will be telling them that there are mistakes or omissions or problems. So skepticism will come naturally because you're not agreeing to everything that is presented to you. So professional skills marks are available for skepticism in discussing shortcomings with the outline contents and summary of issues and recommending improvements. So very clearly, if you forget about recommending improvements, you're not only going to lose technical marks as well as professional marks too. So that's alarming. That's super important to take care of all elements. So 18 marks are available. So again, if I could show you the summary very quickly for requirement 2. So what am I supposed to do here? I'll have to evaluate the content of PID and summary of operational issues and recommendations. Skepticism is the skill. 7 to 10 points I wrote because there's a lot you can talk about actually in this particular document, and the memorandum is the relevant format. Okay, now there's one more thing you need to understand, that you don't know what the PID is like. You'll have to wait to read from the exhibits where this project initiation document is actually given. So we'll have to wait to find it out. Or we can make a mind map or a summary quickly. So these are first 2 requirements. How much time would you like to spend on this for 18 marks? You know, how much time do you have to spend? I would like to spend like hours to write one answer, but the practical reality is that for 18 marks, if there are 2 minutes per mark, I cannot spend more than 36 minutes. Yeah, and 36 minutes are a lot of minutes actually. If we do it right, we shouldn't be having this time management issue. Okay, there are some questions. Let me take those and then we'll move on. Okay, is this requirement clear to everyone? Okay, tell me one thing, that you have a total of 4 hours. So what's the breakdown the examiner says you should be using? How to spend 4 hours? How many times for reading and planning the requirements? I mean, reading, planning the requirements and reading the exhibits. So examiner says that out of the 4 hours, 40 minutes should be spent on reading and planning, including exhibits. So 1 time reading, not learning the paragraphs. So read it very quickly and keep your concentration very high, and you will be able to understand most of it in one reading. So 40 minutes to read, plan the requirements and the exhibits, and rest of 3 hours, 20 minutes for writing, which are actually 200 minutes. And for 100 marks, you have 2 minutes per mark. This is how, we calculate it. But of course, it's natural. Everyone, please listen carefully. It is natural that when you start writing the answer, you will go back to the relevant exhibit and maybe read few paragraphs again. Is that true? So one time reading, the first reading in 40 minutes has to be very quick, because I will be going back to some parts of the exhibits again. Do you agree with me? So the first reading shouldn't be consuming too much of my time, right? Okay, now let me go back to some questions which were asked earlier. Okay, so Chimuka, you'll have to contact the relevant technical person from ACCA team to find out about yesterday's handouts. All right. And what else? I think. Yeah, so Niranjan, I will be talking about that in a little while, that how should we be communicating with the junior member. But let me first reach to that particular exhibit. Okay. And for some of the requirements, I might open the standard answers to show you how you should be explaining your points. It's 2 minutes per mark when you start writing after 40 minutes. Tanya, is that clear? Okay, Nikita, you don't actually have to remember the data from the question. Just concentrate fully and you will be able to remember a few good points. And then again, when we are able to highlight the relevant exhibits for relevant requirement, eventually we'll have to go back and read them again. Okay, Umair, I think the ACCA technical team must have read your suggestion about sharing all the handouts on Google Drive. They'll get back to you on this. Yeah, I think you should be making the summary while you're reading the question, Abdul Rafi, if that's possible. But the summary has to be very quick, not special time should be spent. Yes, you can do that, but at the end, please remove the extra copied data or question requirements. Akis, if you're listening, so that's for you. Okay, Prabir, could you please provide us with any format of memo, briefing notes, etc.? Yes, Prabir, I did shared a handout, actually a technical article from Examiner, which has all the relevant, most of the relevant formats discussed. So you can ask the ACCA person to share that handout with you and ask them how you can access those, okay? Oh, the handouts are available in the group description. Okay, that's great. Nikita, I don't think that is going to be a possibility, unfortunately. Okay, now guys, let's get back to our requirements. So we have covered 2 requirements. Let's do the rest of the requirements and then get to exhibits and then get to discuss the relevant points which we should be making. Question number 3. Now that's my favorite requirement because it's a long requirement. It is quite complex in terms of formats and everything. But there are so many options of getting easy marks for this one. Let's find out. So it says that it is now July 20X2, 3 months after CC began construction of the new road in Beetle. So now requirement 3 says that the road construction has already started and 3 months are gone. Now you are Pat Singh, a consultant employed by CC, so your role is now changed again. You have just left the emergency meeting regarding the incident on the construction site and are responding to the requests made by CC Chairman Amina at the end of the meeting. So there is some emergency meeting, some incident on the construction site. So we'll have to find out which exhibit covers that, but let's see what the requirements are. So there are 3 parts of question number 3. Part A is prepare a confidential memo. The format of the memo and confidential memo is same except for you write confidential memo and not simple memo as the heading, right? So confidential memo for Amina. So you have to write this for Amina. Do you know who is Amina? The chairman of CC, which discusses the ethical and reputational concerns raised at the meeting. So I'll have to find out which exhibit has the information on this meeting and what ethical and reputational issues. How many points? 5 points minimum. Professional skills marks are available for skepticism scale by challenging the comments made at the meeting. So I will have to challenge the comments made at the meeting about ethical and reputational issues. Okay, I will do that later. But I know for sure that there is some material I'm going to get in the exhibit with emergency meeting discussion. Requirement B is prepare a summary for CC's board to review assessing the control weaknesses. So identify and assess the control weaknesses that discussed at the emergency meeting. So again, these control weaknesses are discussed at the emergency meeting, stating for each control weakness its consequence. The second element you need to cover. So identify the weakness, discuss the consequence, and what's the third thing? Recommend improvements. 1 or 2 improvements for each control weakness maybe. Now there are 2 things. For 14 marks, I will try to discuss minimum 7 points. Yes. And the format of the summary, whenever the examiner says prepare a summary of something, it's very rare, but sometimes the examiner asks you to make a summary. So you can insert a table and write your answer in a tabular form, which you normally do in the audit exam, right? So never use tables in SBL, always write in paragraph forms unless the examiner clearly says use summary. So for this summary, you can actually write in tabular form. Professional skills marks are available for demonstrating evaluation skill by basing explanation of significant control weaknesses on the information provided and recommending appropriate improvements, of course, which are relevant and which will solve the problem. 4 marks are here. And C requirement is prepare a briefing paper for CC next board meeting advising the board of the advantages. It's very clearly written here. Advise the board of CC the advantages of CC establishing a separate risk committee. So what is this requirement asking you? Discuss the advantages of risk committee for CC. So which means that they don't have a risk committee right now. So what will be the advantages? So you will have to write very convincing arguments for the board to agree. Professional skills marks are available for commercial acumen in identifying benefits that would be relevant to CC in establishing a separate risk committee. So examiner is kind of warning you that don't write generic benefits of risk committee, but connect them to CC's scenario as much as you can. So sometimes you're able to make a good connection, sometimes you're not able to make a good connection, but just balance out. Some points will be good, some points will not be that great. So the passing criteria is 50% because of that, right? But try your best with every point. Okay, 40 marks are available. So how much time do we have to complete this entire third requirement? 80 minutes, which is more than an hour. An hour and 20 minutes actually. Yep. So just to make a quick summary, if I have to remember my requirements. A requirement of task 3 wants ethical and reputational issues, skepticism scale, 5 points, confidential memo. You can define the total time for requirement 3 in total as well, or part wise. It's totally on you how you prefer. For B requirement, control weakness, consequence recommendations, evaluation skill is tested. 5 to 6 to 7 points needs to be discussed, and the summary, which means a table, can be inserted. And C requirement is advantages of risk committee, commercial acumen scale, 4 points, briefing paper. And the total time allowed for this requirement is 80 minutes. You can split the time between the tasks as well. So very important requirement, I must say, 40% marks. The last requirement of the case study. So this case study has a total of 4 requirements. Okay, Lucinda, in SBL, I prefer to suggest that always write in paragraph form, and that is how the examiner always do it. Examiner don't make tables. However, if this format is of the summary, then you can insert the table, and this is the only time examiner has used the table. If you look at the standard answers, you will figure it out on your own as well. Is that okay? So I'm being very specific to what examiner is doing, and trying to stick to the examiner's approach, because at the end of the day, that is very important. Okay, so not disregarding anything which was previously said, just giving my own point of view here. Okay, question number 4, or requirement 4, is that it is now October 20x2, 6 months after CC began construction of the new road in Beetle. You are practicing a consultant employed by CC board. So it's funny that how your roles are changing in this particular, case study. But it is what it is. We'll have to stick to what we have to write, or basically discuss. Okay, Burton, CC's chief executive, has asked you to help him prepare for the next board meeting, which will discuss investment in big data analytics and offering long-term infrastructure management for roads in Omaglan, Elkia, and Beetle. So requirement is to prepare 2 presentation slides. Now there is something which I want to very clearly mention. You use the format, you use the response option of slides only when the examiner clearly tells you to prepare slides. Is that clear? Please note it, that use presentation slides response option only when you're supposed to be, if the examiner clearly asked you to prepare presentation slides. And with each slide, you will have to make accompanying notes for chief executive to present to the board. So there are 2 slides I need to make. So first slide will be to discuss the benefits and cost both. So don't only talk about benefits, but the cost of CC investing in big data. So maybe I'll talk about 2 benefits and 2 costs. Because you know that on one slide, how many bullet points we should have? I mean, that's the part of effective communication. On one slide, we should have 3 bullets. Okay. Can I get more answers? Oh, 2 to 3. So on one slide, you can have 4 to 5 bullets maximum. No, 4 to 5, I would say. You can have 3 if you think that 3 are enough, but 4 is the best number for me. So 4 to 5, sometimes you want to, add one extra point. So 4 to 5, let's keep it that way. Okay, so discuss the benefits and costs. So all in all, total 5 benefits and costs should be discussed for investing in big data for CC. And the second slide, so you will have a slide on which you will only write bullets. You will not write in paragraph style here. You know that, right? So write in bullets, short sentences on the slide, and on the speaker notes, on the accompanying notes, you can explain your points as much as you want to, just like we do with every point. But on the slide, we can't write long sentences even, and paragraph, no way. So bullet points, and in speaker notes, I'll explain my bullet points in as much detail as I want, but to the point is always the best way. Okay, second slide will cover the possible evaluation of the possible opportunity to take long-term infrastructure management of roads in 3 countries. So I'll be discussing positive and negative aspects of this new opportunity, right? There are total of 8 marks. And how many slides do we have to make? 2 slides. So can I say 4 marks per slide? Exactly. Each slide will have a separate speaker notes option for you. 4 marks per slide. And can I say that this is divided as 2 marks for the slide itself and 2 marks for speaker notes. So you make the bullet points on the slide, and on the speaker notes or on the accompanying notes box, you discuss the bullet points which you made on the slide. So basically in slides, we break down our point, we identify the points on the slide, and we explain them in the next box, which is the speaker notes. I will show you that when we do the CB demo, that how the slides are going to appear in the exam. All right. So 4 to 5 maximum bullet points. If you write more, maybe that is out of that may be too many points, and you may lose communication skill marks. Also, if you write long paragraphs on slide, you will lose communication marks, because slides are supposed to be bullet points on the slides. Okay, Muzammil, is there any question which you asked and I missed? Can you please copy it again in the chat box? Okay, so Kagan has asked that how much of explanation in notes page per bullet point. Okay, Kagan, normally the the speaker notes is also like a slide. I mean, it is like a box, and you have to, write in that box. So it is going to be the normal way we explain one point. So you can keep the same length of answer, same rigor of the point. Is that okay? Maybe 2 lines per point. It depends on how many lines you want and you are satisfied with, and you're satisfied with your explanation. So try to make it as less as possible. So examiner likes it when you are writing to the point and not writing extraordinary details. Yeah, we will do that throughout the case study, Muzammil, so don't worry about it. We have just done the requirements. We'll have to read the exhibits, and along with the exhibits, I will be, figuring out the points, and I will also tell you how to write one particular point. So maybe 1 point for each requirement. Would that be okay? So Muzammil basically wants me to discuss how to write my points, because he thinks that writing expression is something which is lacking. So I will be, helping you at least with 1 point per requirement, but we'll discuss, as many points as possible. Okay. Albert, do you have a question? Because your hand is raised. Okay, guys. Now, please tell me whether it's your first ever past exam paper or whether you have already done some past exams. Do you think the requirements are super difficult or something beyond your, understanding? I would like to hear from you. What do you guys have to say? Yeah, you have never done a PID. Today is the day, Alana, you will do it. Yeah, but I want to know that, do you think that these requirements are making sense? And yes, they're not too difficult. Sometimes we are just afraid of something. So dive into it and start preparing for it. You will enjoy preparing SBL. Oh, yeah, that's the whole point. So Fizza is saying that if we are not panicked, requirements are easy. So I can't, I won't say easy or difficult, but don't panic already, right? Cover your syllabus nicely, do your past exam preparation, and you will be able to pass the exam conveniently. Just don't worry too much and don't have a negative mindset while preparing for this exam, because you need your attention, you need your positive attitude to do it. And each and every one of the participants here can actually pass the exam. I'm sure of it. You need to have the right approach and the right exam technique to do that. Emil, I will be showing you the CBE platform as well, but not today. So just hold on, just learn as much as you can with this question, and maybe tomorrow or day after, I will open the CBE platform and I will show you all the formats and every kind of basically tool which you can make use of. Okay, Emil, is that clear? Hmm. So Vishal has a very good question. Everyone, please listen carefully. He says that in some past exams, examiner says 2 marks per point, and in some past exam questions, the examiner also says 1 mark per point. So we are going to go with the most probable situation, and that is going to be 2 marks per point. So I always tell the students to keep 1.5 to 2 marks in mind, just to be prudent. Would that work? 1.5 to 2 marks can help. And actually 2 marks per point are totally achievable if your explanation of the point is right. So that's what you have to work with. Now in this very case study, Vishal and everyone else, do you remember requirement 3 where we have to discuss the control weaknesses and their impact and the suggestions? So examiner says you can get up to 3 marks per point here. But because nobody is going to come and tell me in the exam, I will assume, I'll be prudent. I will think that maybe 2 marks per point. Is that clear? All right, guys. Do you all have the summary of the requirements in front of you? Have you guys made your own quick summary? If not, do you remember the requirements? Because I would like you to comment on, so if I'm reading from exhibit 1, I would like to ask you that this particular information goes to which requirement. So that's what I will be expecting. Okay, let's start the exhibits already. So there are 6 exhibits, quite comprehensive. Let's start one by one, and let's see how we're going to cover them one by one. And please keep it interactive. Exhibit 1, everyone. So it is the extract from the most recent annual report of CC. Okay. Let's say that we cannot actually have a WhatsApp group, but I have shared my email address at the beginning. I will share it at the end as well, so you can ask for your questions later after the session as well, after these sessions. Exhibit 1. So I'm not going to stop. I will first, or maybe, I'll ask the questions while reading it, but I need full focus. Each and everyone, please try it. That if you are able to concentrate, is it going to help or not? So try to focus as much as you can. Stop looking at your phones. Stop doing whatever you are other than, this case study, and let's see how the things will become clearer. So I think concentration is very important in SBL. Chief Executive Statement is given in Exhibit 1, and this is an extract from most recent annual report. So Chief Executive Statement says that CC's results have shown increased profitability and stronger cash flows. The quality and value of the newer projects have been enhanced by a more focused approach to tendering. So this is what Chairman is like kind of telling the public, kind of sugar-coated way. So he further says that we have avoided speculative projects and concentrated on large projects with high margins and advantageous contract terms. We believe that these are the projects which can unlock new opportunities for CC. Just give me 1 minute. As a result, just a second, guys. Okay. So as a result, I am delighted to announce the first increase in dividends for 3 years. Can I highlight this? That in last 3 years, this is the first time they have given the dividends. Can we use it somewhere? I mean, dividends is relevant, but so this can be used as somewhere in question number 1, part A. Excellent, Elena. So because financial return is something the shareholders will be looking for, and because they have got the dividends now, they will be expecting that the new project will also get good returns, and they will even get better dividends, and maybe every year. Yeah, so that's one of the financial aspect you can discuss. Muzammil, are you listening to me? So whatever I'm saying is the way you explain your points. Yep. So try to write whatever I'm saying in your own words along with the discussion, and it will help you. Okay. Now let's read more, because this is not the only point we are going to talk about for financial aspects. You remember requirement 1, everyone? Question number 1, part A is to discuss the financial and non-financial aspects. Yeah. Okay, I'm just highlighting the information. We'll jot it down at the end. Okay, the results reflect the successful completion of the ring route linking the main roads around Lemdasha. The $10 billion earnings from this CC's biggest ever construction project have shown CC's ability to expand the scope and size of the projects which it undertakes. So they are saying that the current project they did was of $10 billion earnings. So they're not talking about the new project in Beetle, but the current ring route in Omegland and in Elfia. Okay, further the chairman says that CC's stakeholder first program aiming to enhance our relationship with all our key stakeholders has also delivered benefits. We look forward to the prospect of building on our strong relationship with Government of Omegland. We also continue to engage with communities affected by our work. We are mindful of economic benefits which improved infrastructure will bring, but also want to address concerns about adverse impact on environment. So there are adverse impact on environment. So this might be the non-financial factor I would like to discuss later, but that would be more specific to the Beatles project. But I'm just highlighting some good information which might be used in my discussion. Okay, looking forward, the development over the next 2 years of our Site Smart initiative will improve our project management in all aspects. It will result in more effective deployment of business resources, reducing wasted time, and enhancing our competitiveness by reducing project lead times. We also see the effective use of big data as an important goal. We shall be looking to upgrade our systems to take full advantage of it. Okay. I'm delighted to also report that our operations in Elfia are showing a profit for the first time in 4 years. The main factor depressing results in Elfia continues to be losses from the contract from the construction of the road between Fee City and Tow Town. The board has reflected hard on the issue which arose on this project. We believe that the lessons we have learned are positively influencing our systems and working practices, as this will be demonstrated on future projects. All right. So that was the chairman's statement from the annual report. And yeah, that will be linked for, I think, question number 4. Yes. So kind of, not very prominently, but yes, it's linked to that. Yeah, so they're talking about avoiding the downfall in performance. Extracts from risk report section of annual report. Now guys, one thing has to be very clear. Listen to me carefully. When you're reading the exhibits, don't think about the entire SBL syllabus. When you're reading the exhibits, you should be thinking about only the requirements of the case study. So whether something is linked to the relevant requirements or tasks, if not, then we can skip it or leave it alone. Is that clear? So your requirements should be in front of you. So we have to discuss the, for example, financial and non-financial aspects. But for which project? Think about it. Not for all projects, but the project we are doing in Beetle. Yeah? The road we have to construct in the mountains of Beetle. Is that clear? Excuse me. Okay. Next, we have extracts from risk report section of annual report. And it is talking about some risks of the company. So maybe it's relevant for risk committee. Advantages, remember question number 3 part C. But let's read it first and let's figure out. Board responsibilities. The board formally reviews major risk as a regular part of its agenda and has ultimate responsibility for risk management. Risk management is incorporated within operational systems and in daily activities of CC. Okay. Audit committee responsibilities. CC has an audit committee comprised entirely of independent non-executive directors in line with international corporate governance best practice. All committee members have accountancy or finance qualifications. The committee meets every 3 months. It reports to the board on the significant issues considered in relation to financial statements and on its assessment of external audit process. The committee reviews and approves the role and mandate of internal audit, approves the annual internal audit plan, and monitors and reviews the effectiveness of its work on CC's financial accounting system. The committee has a general responsibility for promoting sound risk management and internal control system. The committee is assisted in work by a risk manager and a health and safety manager. Okay, so this says that committee has a responsibility towards risk management and is assisted by a risk manager and a health and safety manager. So audit committee is kind of responsible for reviewing the entire risk management at CC. Is that so? Quick answers are appreciated, please. Yeah. So committee is meeting after how many months? I mean, they're kind of responsible, you know, sound risk management and keeping a check on it. They don't have a risk committee. So they meet after every 3 months. So do you think they will be effectively taking care of promoting sound risk management when they're meeting after every 3 months? Because the risk changes like maybe every day, every week. Risk has a very dynamic nature. So audit committee seems to be, they have a lot of roles to perform. It sounds like that they don't have a lot of time left for risk management work. So that also suggests the need for audit committee. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sorry, the need for risk committee. Which question is relevant? Question number 3, part C. So you can use this point and say that if there is a separate risk committee, they can meet more frequently and they can exclusively work on effective risk management and can improve a lot. Is that clear? So audit committee seems to be too busy. So this is one point you can use to discuss the advantages of risk committee for this particular company. Yeah, so Kagan, you can definitely copy the sentence in the computer-based exam, but Kagan, would you be writing your own point of view at the end? That audit committee is super busy and risk committee, if there is a risk committee, they are better able to meet maybe more frequently and discuss all the risks, etc. Absolutely. Apurva, you're right. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm trying to say, Ikra, that if we have a separate risk committee, audit committee will manage their own work, which seems to be a lot of work actually. Internal audit, management, controls, review, etc. Right? They don't have time. That's why maybe, they won't be able to effectively contribute. So basically, now everyone please listen, that the information is spread throughout all the exhibits. So we'll have to pick up information, whatever is relevant for whichever requirement, and then expand on it. So if something clicks in your mind, don't hesitate to write and explain that point. Yeah, Sanya is saying that non-executive directors should be from diverse backgrounds. Yes, Sanya, you're right, but why would you be bothered to discuss this point? And which requirement will be relevant? I mean, you're right, but again, we'll have to think according to the requirements. But generally, yes, you're right. Yeah, there should be risk owners. Let's read the rest of the case study to find out if they have any. They actually don't have a lot of mechanism for risk management, and that's why they need to have the risk committee. Okay. Specific risk. So some of the risk of companies mentioned here, let's see. So there is this health and safety risk, as you can see. I'm going to read the risk and then I will take more questions. So health and safety risk. So CC is responsible for minimizing the risk of hazards and dangers to employees and other arising from its operations. The health and safety manager's principal responsibilities to maintain health and safety documentation, organizing training and accreditation for staff, reviewing health and safety reports, and monitoring compliance in conjunction with internal audit. CC is obliged to report the $300,000 fines it paid as a result of injuries to employees arising from failure to remedy dangerous conditions on site. The health and safety manager has made recommendation for enhanced site safety procedures, which will be implemented on current and future contracts. So they are already, have paid fines of $300,000, which is a lot of fine. Excuse me. All right. Now, keep the information from these risks in mind. They might be used to explain some of the points which are coming up. Now, the risk of tendering is next. It says that CC requires a stream of successful bids and projects to deliver, value for shareholders. It cannot commit to too many bids nor accept projects which offer insufficient returns for excessive risk. The board is considering specifying a minimum profit margin of 8%. So what is their criteria? Minimum profit margin of 8% for most of the projects. So that is something you need to keep in mind as well. This might get connected to another point for financial issues to be discussed in question number 1 part A. The next risk is project delivery. Any failure of project to meet time, budget, and quality requirement represents a fundamental threat to CC's business. Such failure can arise from unrealistic plans, failure to assess progress properly, and lack of effective reporting. CC's Site Smart initiative will be focused on improving project delivery. Okay, now this point is also linked with the minister's criteria, which is given in Exhibit 2. But you can, for the time being, take it as one of the risks the company is facing. Next, we have environment risk. CC's sustainability strategy is designed to deliver the environmental outcomes which society demands. CC has enhanced its program for reducing carbon emissions. CC is focusing on reducing of energy and fuel consumption. CC also aims to minimize the disruption to communities and the natural environment caused by its activities. It consults with community representatives and other interested parties to address these issues. So they're kind of very active towards environment. Financial risks are there. Failure to maintain liquidity and meet loan repayment and covenant requirements will jeopardize CC's ability to win new contracts. So do you think we should be using this as financial aspects of the new project as well? Yes, because these are the risks for the new project too. CC aims to maintain a capital structure with balanced equity and debt and ensure liquidity and working capital requirements are met. The board is satisfied that undrawn bank facilities will be sufficient to meet continuing needs. The board is also confident that loans due for repayment in the next 3 years can be replaced by equivalent funding it required. So, this paragraph is kind of giving you ideas what aspects of finance to talk about. So you can talk about liquidity, you can talk about working capital needs of the project in terms of finance, the source of finance, the short-term source, the long-term source of finance, all is kind of, this paragraph is giving hints. We are also going to talk about the profitability of the project, and we know that our minimum target is 8%. So we'll have to wait if we have more information on the project. Business integrity and reputation risk. CC board is committed to safeguarding against the risk of fraud, bribery, and corruption, and ensuring a commitment to honesty that avoids false claims and misleading statements. CC's code of conduct. Oh, they have a code of conduct and rigorous ethics training are designed to maintain stakeholder trust in the company's integrity and avoid legal penalties. Okay, now this specific risks are mentioned where? These risks are mentioned in risk report section of annual report. So they have kind of claimed that they're taking care of all these risks. Am I right? Please confirm if you're clear on this. So the things are actually mentioned in annual report. So they are like kind of important. So CC companies kind of responsible for these claims and can be held accountable. Exhibit 2 is a very quick, interesting exhibit, and this is a press release of the announcement of new road in Beetle, dated 10th November. So press release of new road in Beetle. So I think this information is very relevant to question number 1 because that is about the new road in Beetle. What do you guys say? Maybe. Let's read it first. So it says that a 20 billion new road scheme between Gamwell and Lake Ita will transform the economy of Beetle's eastern region, cutting the average journey time through Innerdy Mountains by almost half. So how big is this project? $20 billion. So far, what is the biggest project of CC? I'm going back to exhibit 1. It says that the biggest ever project is $10 billion. Yes, and this new road is a $20 billion project, double the size of the biggest ever project CC has done. So can we talk about this in financial aspects of the project? Guys, are you getting this? No, we can start talking about this, that this project is it's double the size in terms of, its value. So you can start talking about this and then come to the more specific points. Rabia, is that okay? So you can start with this discussion, and examiner will really like it that, oh, you are picking the actual information, the facts and figures from the exhibits and are kind of explaining how big the project is. So this is what the examiner really likes, that you are using facts and figures from the exhibits. Okay, but this is not a separate point, I agree, but you can kind of in the introduction part, you can kind of start with this and then say that rest of the financial factors are as follows. Okay, next it says Minister of Transport Desmond said, okay, do you remember minister's criteria? Question number 1, part B. So the difficulties in meeting the minister's criteria. Yeah, so it's a total value of the project which will be paid. So cost, you can say, for the government of Beetle. Yeah, so yes, it's attractive. This is something which will influence the decision, Rabia. So a project with double the size, it is attractive. So you can definitely discuss it, because you have to discuss the factors which can affect the decision. So this is something important. Okay, Minister of Transport Desmond said, I am pleased at last to be able to confirm the scheme which will help enhance the eastern region's economic development. This region has been held back by the poor roads through the Ainardi mountains. Flooding during the wet season have often caused traffic delays, and sometimes the road is impassable. The new road will resolve these problems. We have identified a preferred partner which we have invited to submit a detailed tender for the contract to construct the road. At the moment, their identity is confidential, but we hope to announce shortly who it is. I can confirm that they are from outside Beetle. Low price will be an important criteria when choosing the contractor. So can I say that this is one of the criteria the minister is highlighting? So this might be difficult for us to meet, because it is the construction of road in mountains. So there might be some weather issues, there might be some delays which will affect the cost, which will increase the cost. Yeah, it will increase more, it can lead to more wastage of materials maybe, which also means more cost. We will be hiring machinery, etc. So more days means more cost for that. So a lot of aspects can go wrong. So low price might be difficult to achieve. So that's difficulty number 1 we have to talk about. So all the things which I just said can be used as the points of, to explain this point. Yeah, weather conditions can be used as well. So low price will be an important criteria when choosing the contractor. Okay, now in question number 1, listen to me, Kagan. In question number 1, the decision was not made that who is going to do the project. Okay, So this criteria was discussed in question number 1. Okay. Yeah, so that's how, you know, you have to stick to the particular requirement where it wasn't decided yet, you know, that who is going to be working on the. So low price is generally the criteria the minister has, and we have to talk about it, that this criteria might be difficult for us. And do you understand why? Because the cost can go really high, and we will be struggling with meeting it. We might have to meet it, but we will be struggling with it. So that's the difficulty, that's the challenge. Okay, we shall also want the contractor to carry out the work efficiently, with the timetable being as short as possible to ensure that disruption during the project will be kept to minimum. So what's the second criteria? Timetable should be as short as possible. So this will be difficult to meet because there might be delays, and you know, construction the road in mountains might be very tricky. It's not as constructing the road where the land is flat. So more time, more planning, more time in execution, more slippage might be there. So that's the second difficulty. And then the criteria is that the disruption during the construction will be kept to a minimum. So again, when you construct the road in mountains, the disruption to the environment, to the community, and to the natural habitat will be there. You can try to reduce it, but there will be disruptions, you know, people and environment can get affected. So that is again something which will be challenging for us to keep up with. The government will guarantee debt finance that the contractor needs to fund the project. We appreciate the concerns expressed about the impact on some villages in the mountains and the damage to habitats of a number of species of wildlife. We shall expect our chosen contractor to limit its natural footprint. So disruption should be minimum, and then the natural footprint should be limited. So that's the fourth point you need to consider and discuss why it's going to be a challenge. Okay, you'll have to discuss the challenge and difficulty out of it. That's what the requirement says. So whatever you think would be challenging in terms of environment, cost, time, just give your ideas. Okay, it will be required to the base its construction plans on mitigating the environmental impact of the road when it opens. When completed, we are certain that the new road will give a big boost to our economy and be a lasting achievement of this government. Now, in this criteria of minister, there is one more thing you need to note, that impact on environment, impact on communities, and disruption for communities. These are also the non-financial factors to be discussed in question number 1 part A, because the examiner asks you to discuss those. Exhibit 3. Exactly. So Rabia has a very good non-financial factor here, that company does not have the prior experience to working in mountain region and construction of road in that particular situation, you know. So that will be what? A non-financial factor. You're right. Okay, next is exhibit 3. It's the forecast revenues and cost for construction of new road in Beetle. So we have the revenues and costs. So it is assumed that construction will begin in May and be completed in December. Progress payments are given here. So there will be 4 payments, and total payments will be $21,000 million. So these figures are rounded off to millions. So 21,000 million, and then projected costs are given: road surface, tunnels, bridges, crossing ground, drainage, lighting, fencing, others. So all in all, year by year cost data is given, and a total cost is $19,000 million, right? Now, using this information, can we calculate some profit ratio from here? Maybe GP, let's call it profit margin. So with this data, the profit margin can be calculated. The profit will be income minus expenses. So 21,000 million minus $19,000 million divided by, this will give you the profit or surplus, divided by $21,000 million. So what will be the profit margin? Can you guys quickly make this calculation and give me the answer? Basically, in order to get the professional skills marks, you can show some additional calculations as well. Yes? And it's pretty straightforward. It's 14%. It's what? Exact answer is 9.5. Okay, so it's 9.5 versus the target profit margin of, what was the target profit margin? 8%. So it fulfills, it's more than target. So do you think it's an additional positive aspect to be discussed? But this is a financial factor where you are going to use this information. You can use this information in question number 1, part A. And if you show this calculation, I mean, not this, but this 9.5 versus 8, and you say that it is more than the target, then you are demonstrating comparisons across exhibits, as well as you're showing additional calculations. And it's a very good point if you compare it, and you can get 1.5 to 2 marks for this particular point. And along with this, can we also add that for shareholders, this return is kind of satisfactory, as well as if we are able to keep up with the dividend payment which they got recently. So just like that, if we are able to pay them dividends, that would be another added benefit. Yeah. Now here from this exhibit, you can also talk about some major costs, and you can discuss that these are the projected costs, but what if these costs actually are higher than this forecast? They can, affect the profit margins. So talk about the sensitivity analysis, or maybe if the cost gets higher, the profit margin can get lower. Any questions till now? Okay, Kagan is asking, should this calculation be done in spreadsheet? I think the best way to do this calculation is on your calculator and just show the figure 9.5. You'll get marks. You don't have to show the calculations. Yeah, so just present the figure in the answer. Okay, any other questions so far? We are through half the exhibits already. Okay, guys. Exhibit 4. Exhibit 4 is the outline contents of project initiation document and a summary of operational issues. Does this ring a bell? Which requirement? Can everyone tell me? I mean, it's also the important part of reading the case study, that if I'm able to figure out which exhibit belongs to which requirement. Sometimes one exhibit has information for multiple requirements, sometimes it's only is relevant to one requirement. So this one looks like what? Okay, more answers are welcome. So absolutely, this is linked to question number 2, where you have to critically evaluate the Oliver's work. So this is basically Oliver's work given to you. So I think somebody was asking me that how we are going to be, how we are going to change our tone. So you don't have to change your tone a lot, honestly. Are you listening to me, everyone? So you don't have to change your tone a lot, but when you are talking, when you are what was the work? You have to critically evaluate this given PID and summary of operational issues. So outline contents of PID and summary of operational issues. Critically evaluate means the things which are right, I will say they are right, but if there are any omissions, so I'll be looking for 2 things: the things which are right, and then if there are any omissions or if there are any errors, the very prominent one. So omissions will be my main criteria if there is anything which is important and is not a here. So everyone, please listen carefully. How can we start writing this memo? We are writing a memo to Oliver, right? So the format of the memo will be to Oliver. Write his full name because it's given. Then from, who are you? Don't write your own name. You were Joe Isa. Is that? So the role, the name, the title given to you. What is the subject? So this is how you make your formats in the exam. The only difference is that you are going to type it. I am writing. Okay, so what's the subject? Project initiation document. And then you write the date. You write the exam date, or you can put these small crosses like this, just to give a reference that you know you have to write a date. Okay, now if you are practically writing a memo to your team member, are you all listening to me? You can write the position also, it doesn't matter. I think it's not very professional to write abbreviations. Elena, is that okay if we write the complete project initiation document? Because it's a formal document, we want to give a sense to the junior team member that this is something serious, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys, if you're writing some memorandum to your team member highlighting the problems in their work or some omissions or feedback, would you like to give 1 line or 2 line introduction, or you're going to just straight away say this is missing, this is missing, this is right, this is wrong? What do you suggest? What is more professional? 1 line introduction, 2 line introduction is a nice idea. So now listen what tone I will be using if I'm writing the answer. So I will first say, thank you, Mr. Oliver, for preparing this project initiation document and taking up this responsibility, and the summary of section. And if there are issues, you can say that there are a number of feedback points I would like to highlight in this memorandum, and I will also be suggesting improvements to better update the document. Can we write something like this? And that's the formal introduction. Examiner will be happy to see that you are writing professionally, and that is the big part of professional skill marks. Yep. So but you can have your own variations to be nice. So nice but very firm. Okay, now straight away we are going to highlight the issues or feedback points. So anything which you want to say, let's talk about PID first. So it does mention aims and background, introduction of the project, background of the project, business case of the project is given in terms of benefit, cost, progress payments, financial budget and funding is given, operational issues also highlight time and cost constraint, risks, project sponsor, project manager. Are there any things which are missing? Time duration should have been included. Okay, so can we say that there are some omissions, Apurva? That you can, the time is not mentioned, timelines. So they could have been more detailed timelines. The deadlines could have been more clear. You remember, guys, that you have to discuss the problems or feedback points, the weaknesses, and as well as give recommendations. So first you say the timelines are not mentioned, and then recommend it that more detailed timelines and deadline needs to be there. And yes, key stakeholders, where are those? And can we make it more specific to the question by saying that PID also needs to have the important stakeholders in the project, indicating their power and interest in the project? So for example, Beatles government will be a key stakeholder, and for example, the communities which are living there, those communities which are going to be disrupted, These are important stakeholders. They should have been mentioned. So are you guys listening to me? All of what I'm saying is the explanation of the point. This is what you need to write in your points. So is the key stakeholder point clear to everyone? So first you say that key stakeholders should be there. Then you say that your PID do not have them. And then you give the examples related to the current Beatles project, like Beatles government or communities or environment or media or whatever you think is relevant. You don't have to give a lot of examples, but some. Okay, organization. What is organization, Kagan? Yeah, the quality constraint is also missing. That at what quality we are defining our materials and what's the criteria to check the quality. So quality controls need to be added into the PID, right? Can I also say that there are no assumptions given about weather conditions? So what is the assumption about weather? In the mountains, the weather can go really bad. So how many days will be delayed? So there has to be some assumption about weather condition. So that also, the scope and objective. Yeah, so where's the scope and objective of the project? So Oliver has a lot of feedback. We'll be getting a lot of feedback, right, from all of you. So scope and objective is missing. So PID should, give a very detailed objective in both financial and non-financial. So so that the board of directors and relevant stakeholders know what the objectives are. And can I say there is no mention of project team, the responsibilities of the team, the hierarchy, who is answerable to whom? Reporting arrangements are even not mentioned. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Project monitoring, how the project will be monitored, what key performance indicators. Yeah. So all of these things which are mentioning in the chat window I'm reading, most of the things are right. But the idea here is that we have to, figure out what and how to write. So do you think reporting arrangements need to be mentioned too? And what expertise we have and what we lack? Excellent point. So I think we have kind of figured out everything that seems to be missing. But now when we are writing our answer, your tone needs to be very straightforward. Don't sugarcoat it. That, okay, it's no problem, you have not mentioned it. No. Clearly tell that this is missing, this is my recommendation. Okay, so this way you can get most of the marks, and conclude the memorandum by saying that I look forward to working with you. I have made a lots of points. If you have any questions, you can contact me. I will be happy to discuss, or something like that. But remember that we still have to figure out the summary of operational issues section as well. So not just PID contents, but this needs to be discussed as well. So operational issues section has like cost and time constraints of stages given, which are kind of okay. Main risks are given: health and safety, supply chain, environment. Do you think that the project should have the discussion of more risks? So these are the, can I say that the main risks should give reference to the risk of annual report in Exhibit 1? Yeah, so risks are mentioned, but the impact or assessment of the risk is missing. So that could have been added to give more idea what these risks are. Yeah, and also link with annual report risks. That is missing. Some of the key risks mentioned there are not mentioned here. And also, if you look at this specific environment risk, the risk management strategy is to have disposal of waste, energy conservation, carbon emission reductions. So environment risk is a big risk the company is facing. So there might be some more specific risk assessment and risk management Myers mentioned? And also, do you think a social risk needs to be added here? The effect on communities when we build the role, how they will be impacted, and the environmental risk should be talking about the impact on environment, the wildlife. Yeah, that is also not mentioned. So we are kind of giving the feedback like a senior and just highlighting and recommending what needs to be added. So that is PID. Any questions? Yeah, so the risk of pressure groups. So Ikra is very right that we can also add the risk of pressure groups, the people protesting against, construction of this road, etc. I don't think, Sabanda, I don't think that you will be asked to draft the PID, but yes, you can be given a PID and you can be asked to critically evaluate it. So no, that's not possible to prepare a PID because it's a long document. You need a lot of information to prepare a PID about the project. So that's not a possibility. Any further questions? Okay. Let's do the next exhibit. It's a very important exhibit and it is going to be highlighting a lot of different important things. So exhibit 5 is the transcript of emergency meeting on 20th July at CC head office following protest against construction of new road in Beta. Okay, so where do you think this exhibit is going to fit in? It's the emergency meeting. So there are two requirements, actually two parts of requirement. Question number 3, part A and part B, where the linkage or reference of the emergency meeting is given. Absolutely. So let's read it and let's figure out. So in question number 3, part A, we were supposed to discuss the ethical and reputational issues. And in part B, we had to discuss the control weaknesses. Yeah. And their impact and the suggestions. Okay, I'm going to read it. Everyone, please follow. So transcript of emergency meeting at CC's head office following protest against construction of new road in Beetle. Present Burton, Amina, Alan, Pat, the CEO, chairman, risk manager, and consultant. The meeting began at 10 a.m. Burton opened the meeting by playing the following clip from Beetle's news program about the break-in from earlier that morning. So they are kind of telling you what happened. So there's this clip which was played in the meeting, and here we have the summary of what was in the clip. So presenters said 2 protesters were seriously injured last night after they broke into one of the construction sites for the new road through the Ainerdi Mountains. So that's the road we are building. We means the CC company. So there were break-ins and there were people who were seriously injured. The break-in is an escalation of the recent protests against the new road. Protests have been unhappy that they have not been able to meet with Burton Wadher, CC's chief executive. Our reporter Iris is outside the site. Iris, what can you tell us about the break-in and the injuries to the protesters? Reporter is responding. It appears that a number of protesters created a diversion outside this entrance. Excuse me. While the 2 security staff on site investigated, other protesters broke in elsewhere, close to where a break-in was attempted last week. On that occasion, the security staff spotted the protesters and prevented access. This time, however, two protesters got in. It seems that one collided with a van driven by an employee of CC. The other protesters were apprehended by another CC employee and was subsequently taken away by police. No representative from CC has made any comment about last night's events, and we have not been able to speak with any of the employees involved. However, as he was led away, the protesters who was arrested shouted out about the protester injured by the van. They ran him over. The van deliberately went straight for him and ran him over. End of clip. So this gives you a little idea what happened. Yes. So there was this accident, the people were injured, the van ran over the people, so things are really bad. Okay, now Burton. Who's Burton? He's the chief executive of the company. So what is Burton asking? I thought that showing the news report was the best way to brief you on what happened, although Alan has found out more since. I have spoken to our Alan is the risk manager. So Burton played the clip, and Alan says that I have spoken to our employees and the staff from Sholen Security, the security firm in Beetle which we use. It seems that they both went to deal with the protesters at the main entrance. Amina, were there only two security staff on the site? Alan, yes, the contract only states that the security post should be manned at all times. So do you see any control problem here? Because we have to, kind of highlight the control problems. Yeah, I will be talking about the reputational and ethical issues later, but let's first talk about the control problems. So Amina asked, were there only two staff on site, and it was confirmed by Alan. So can I say that is control weakness number one, that there were only two security staff on site and they were not able to keep up with the problem. And the Alan's explanation is very weak that the post should be manned at all times. That's the need. So that's the problem. Now, what's the impact of the problem? You remember that the requirement was very clear. Identify the control weakness or assess the weakness. Talk about the consequences. What is the consequence of only two staff member? So this is my control weakness number one. I will write it, maybe copy and paste it, and that's identified. But what's the consequence? The break-in happened and these security staff were not able to keep up, and they were not able to stop them entering the premises. Is that true? So that's what you have to write in the consequence part. Now, what's your recommendation? I mean, this accident happened, but for future, what's your recommendation? Is recommendation even needed? Do we have to recommend in this requirement? I assume that you have the summary of the requirements in front of you. So recommendation needs to be given. So first you write that security post only had, there were only two staff. And remember that you're writing a summary. The format is summary, so don't write extraordinary details. Consequences that the two people were not able to, handle the protesters, and they broke into and they come inside the, the area. The suggestion is that security firm needs to be contacted, and there needs to be more staff members according to the need at that particular site. Increased security, CCTV camera, panic button, maybe, yes, something like that can help too. But for this particular problem, lack of security staff, the recommendation is within this problem that they should need to have more staff according to the need. and reinforcement on a very quick call at all times. That ought to be some backup. Excellent points coming in. Yes, exactly. That's what I said, that whenever the summary is needed, you can make a table. So there will be 3 columns in the table, one for the weakness, the second for the consequence, and the third for the recommendation, but you're not supposed to write too much because summary has to be brief. Okay, next point, everyone. Amina further says that the news report mentioned an attempted break-in last week. Were we told about it? I mean, there was an attempted break-in last week as well, right? So Alan says the security staff said that they had reported it to their managers, but no one from Sholen Security appears to have contacted us. Can I say that this is my control weakness number 2? Again, you can kind of copy paste the information into the answer, but what's the consequence? So there was no communication from Sholen Security to the company that there was an attempt of break-in last week also. So again, the consequences that the protesters gained the confidence and they attempted it again, creating all the fuss, right? And the problem for the company. That's the consequence. What's your recommendation for future? Guys, I need your feedback here. What do you think can be the recommendation for this problem? There has to be a defined mechanism, can I say, which we should set and which we should finalize with the security firm, that whenever there is something out of the ordinary happens, they are supposed to inform it to the relevant person at CC, and we should also highlight which team or which person is the relevant person. Specific instructions for security company. Exactly. So so this is how you can exactly, and there should be some internal communication as well, that security guards can directly communicate to some manager at CC about what happened, and it's also the responsibility of the risk manager to keep on meeting people and keep on finding out what are the risks of their area, right? And this negligence should be reported seriously to Sholen Security. Can we say that this is something we can also do to make them realize that it's very important? So multiple recommendations you guys are given. So I would suggest write 2 recommendations at least, because you're not writing in a lot of detail. So just highlighting the ideas. Okay, next please. Burton, what more do we know about what happened once the protesters got in? Exactly, they can have a close check on CCTV footage, maybe sample basis, and not only rely on guards. Absolutely fine. Okay, so what more happened? Alan said the protester who was injured ran across an unlit service road and the van collided with him. So another control weakness, unlit service road. Third problem. What is the consequence? Because the road was unlit, the van driver was not able to see the protester and the van ran over him and there were serious injuries. This could have been fatal. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So what's your recommendation? The lights should be working all the time, but they cannot work on their own. There has to be a mechanism. So maybe the internal audit visit should highlight weaknesses like this. Having adequate lighting conditions, but can we involve like internal auditor in it, that they can have a kind of a regular frequent check on construction sites to make sure health and safety protocols are taken care of? Yeah, so there can be automatic turner. I really like the ideas you guys are giving in the chat window. Final check. Yes, the final check by internal audit can be done. Make sure the personnel, that there is backup available. So yeah, so all the ideas are fine. I mean, but just try to, be a little more professional, talk about internal audit. Some documentation, can we have like a checklist or something that after every few days we check whether the lighting is on and we maintain a document confirming that yes, lights are working, something like that. Okay, Amina, should the area have been lit better? So Alan says apparently lighting was one of the things picked up by Lee, our health and safety manager. When he visited the site 2 months ago, staff said that the lighting was going to be fixed before internal audits visit planned for the next month. Do you see any problem in this overall? The lighting was picked up by Lee, health and safety manager, 2 months ago as well. So this means that it wasn't fixed for 2 months, and not even, why to wait for internal audits visit? It's a regular operational thing. You need to fix it. 2 months is a very long period to, have proper lighting on the service road where the accidents can happen. So what's your suggestion? Do not wait for internal audit visit. Have a regular check on these issues, lighting, etc. So maybe have a document after every week or every few days. There should be a check and confirmation on that document that yes, this is done. Exactly. So that's fourth problem, fourth control weakness. Amina says, why isn't Lee here? I mean, in the meeting. So Burton says, Lee's been off sick for last 6 weeks. We'll have to get temporary replacement in now to fill the gap caused by Lee's absence. Another problem. So Lee, who is Lee? He's the health and safety manager, and he is sick for last 6 weeks, and now only they are getting the replacement. What's the consequence? The consequence is that the areas which Lee picked up were not followed up and were not fixed, right? What's your suggestion? If something gets sick, we should have some replacement already there who can take up the relevant tasks if somebody cannot come in. And it has to be very quick. The replacement needs to be quick because health and safety is one of the major concerns in construction companies. Timely and, replacement needs to be, sorted out. Even if somebody is not sick and taking leaves, you should already have a backup plan, isn't it? Amina further says, did Lee submit his report on the site before he went sick? Burton, I did receive it, but the points were generally minor. We have had so much else to discuss at the board meeting recently that I haven't had a chance to report on health and safety. So do you like his excuse that we had so much else to do? So that's why we were not able to talk about health and safety. It's one of the major risks. Had there been risk committee, can we also say that? Had there been risk committee, these kind of matters would not have been neglected. It's a major risk, and how easily it is neglected. Can I say that these things can be highlighted by risk committee if there was one? So you can attach this point to risk committee advantages, third C part as well. Is this clear? Yes, having a risk register. So all of these can get better if you have a risk committee. So I'm talking about question number 3, part C, where the advantages of risk committee are supposed to be discussed. Okay, Amina says, what do we know more about the protesters who collided with the van? Alan says, I haven't spoken to the van driver yet, but I have spoken to the security guard who chased the protester. He didn't see the collision, only the aftermath. So delay in speaking to the van driver, that's another control weakness. Amina says, how about the protester who claimed to have seen his friend being run over? Alan, I'm not sure whether he would have been able to see clearly what happened as the lighting was so poor. He had also fallen over a patch of oil which hadn't been mopped up. This was why the security guard was able to catch up with him. So he fallen over a patch of oil which was not mopped up. Another problem. Do you guys understand what we are discussing here? The control weaknesses are so many and very clearly written. All you need to do is to discuss the consequence and give recommendation. So not just lighting, the cleanliness and cleaning of oil and other materials is also an issue. So I think there are plenty of options we have to, discuss. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a while because I want to now open quickly the standard answer of this very question, just to show you that how the examiner has demonstrated or actually has written the standard answer of this particular part. All right. Okay, can you see it on the screen now? The summary of control weakness. This is the actual examiner's answer. So there are 3 columns: weakness, the consequence of the weakness, and recommendation. And you can see that the examiner has not written long paragraphs. Very quick answers. So health and safety manager being absent, security presence, contact with security firm, oil, lighting, internal audit visits. So all of these problems are discussed here. And there are either 1 or 2 recommendations at maximum given. So this is the tabular form you can also use, but only when the summary format is needed, whenever examiner says to prepare a summary. I have provided you in today's handouts the standard answer as well. You will have to go through the standard answers eventually, so I'm not going into the detail a lot. So part B of question number 3 is done. Now going back to the rest of the question. So do you see any ethical issues so far? I mean, there are control problems, clear cut, we have discussed them, but do you see that there is a problem saying that no representative from CC has made any comment about last night events? So not having any communication is an ethical issue, and this can become a damage to reputation of CC, that they will be seen as a negligent company. Yeah, we'll read that later, but so far I think not talking to anybody, not making any comment, that is in itself is unethical. Do you understand that's unethical? And does it also have reputational consequences, because the company will be perceived as a negligent company, right? Now let's read the rest of the exhibit to find more ethical issues. So Amina said that you told me earlier, Burton, that our lawyers have advised us not to make any statements that we are responsible, and that police and health and safety authorities will be looking at the site over the next few days. Burton, that's all correct. Of course, we shouldn't admit to any responsibility for injuries. I'll be flying out to Beetle this afternoon. When I get out there, I will issue a statement to the press saying that we regret the injuries, but protesters who trespass on building sites only have themselves to blame. We'll ensure that sites tidied up, lights fully on, etc. I will also speak to the staff there and make sure that they are all saying the same things. They'll get a hardship bonus because of all the stress they had faced last night. I'm fed up with these protesters and the way they are disrupting this contract. So there are a lot of ethical issues in this one paragraph. Can you tell me? So we have to talk about 5 ethical and reputational issues. So highlight the ethical issue and connect it with what reputation loss you will have. So number 1, not admitting to the mistake and not making the statement. The first thing is not making a statement. Then shouldn't admit to responsibility. The attitude is wrong. That's unprofessional. We don't know. We can't say we don't have any responsibility. And then this person leaving Beetle, the country, and then making a generic statement. Do you think overall leadership is missing? Overall leadership for ethics and integrity seems to be missing. So that's the third ethical problem. Also, I will speak to the staff and make sure they are saying the same things. What does that mean? Intimidating the staff as well. And what do you think of hardship bonus? That's bribery. So all 5 points are here in this particular paragraph. The only thing you need to do is to explain the impact on reputation. Any questions? Let me finish the exhibits and then we'll have a break. Okay, so another 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, Burton and Alan leave the meeting. Amina and Pat continued a private conversation. Amina, I'm worried about what Burton will say and do when he is in Beetle and his attitude on the issues we have discussed. Can you send me a memo before Burton goes to Beetle setting out your views? You can be as frank as you like. I shall keep the memo confidential. I'm also not happy generally with how risks have been managed and controls have been operating. So can I say, had there been risk committee, the risks of this project would have been better handled? So Rabia is asking, how can we make separate points for reputation for each of these 5 things? Overall, general reputation harm, and then for some of the things we might have to face litigation, maybe some fine penalties. So you can have an overall comment at the end also about reputation if you don't want to, you know, discuss it with every point. Rabia, is that okay? So first discuss the ethical aspect and then at the end discuss all the reputational damage they can have. Okay, and continuing to read this, I would like you to draft me a summary of control weaknesses and how they should be remedied. I want the board to see quickly and clearly what problems are and what we must do. Also, other companies have separate audit and risk committees rather than a single audit committee like CC has. Please, can you prepare a briefing paper for the next board meeting, setting out the advantage for CC for having a separate audit and risk committee? So that is your exhibit 5. Exhibit 6. Exhibit 6 is report of an interview with Burton Vader in Omegland Daily News paper. Just a second, guys. So it says big data will help CC gain strategic advantage. Now this one is for the last requirement where you have to prepare the slides. So CC will be the forefront of the construction section in Omegland in using big data to gain strategic advantage, according to its chief executive. Burton, whether we must make full use of the information available on traffic volumes and road conditions to run our operations efficiently and seize new opportunities to enhance shareholders' wealth. Mr. Vader wishes CC to develop big data capabilities alongside its current Site Smart initiative. He believes that enhanced big data capabilities will help CC gain road infrastructure management contracts, which are becoming available. How? because big data helps you to identify what customer wants, the patterns are identified, right, which can help you to forecast your demand, etc., and arrangement for resources. So all of these things. Previously, the government of Omegland, Elfia, and Beetle have managed their country's road network themselves, only using companies like CC for specific maintenance and construction work. Now, however, the government are looking for subcontracting the management of some of their road network to private sector partners who will plan maintenance as well as carrying it out. The private sector partners will also have ongoing responsibilities such as operating traffic control and signage systems. Their income will be in the form of fee paid by government or toll charges on road users, or a combination of both. Mr. Vather is sure that CC will be able to provide what each government wants. CC will provide an integrated package of construction and support services that none of our competitors can match. We shall be the partner of choice for all three governments. So I think you kind of can guess that this half of the exhibit is talking about big data. So one slide is about big data and the other slide is about this new opportunity they have to work with government. So these are to be discussed through slides. All right, now what we are going to do is we are going to take a 10 minutes break here. And after that, I will open the answer sheet document and we'll jot down the points for most of the requirements. So we'll skip some requirements like this control weaknesses discussion because we have already discussed it in detail. But for some of the requirements, we'll have to like kind of jot down the points and bring them together because we have learned the exhibits and now we'll see. So let's take a 10 minutes break and then complete the case study discussion. Any questions so far? Okay, Rita, I have read your suggestion. Let's see what we can do. All right, then I will see you after 10 minutes. Thank you very much. All right, are you guys there? All right. Okay, Sayeda Kashifa, I have asked the relevant technical person from ACCA to tell me how you guys can reach the yesterday's handouts. So as soon as he confirms something, I will tell you. Okay, let me repeat one more time that in today's handouts, there is one handout named as solved material merged. This handout has the answers from yesterday's discussion questions, as well as the technical article on artificial intelligence and some quick notes on risk assurance. So all these things are in this one handout, and this handout is merged. So please do download it and check it whenever you have time. All right, so now there's a very quick exercise we have to do, and that is to jot down and compile, sort of compile our points. So this will kind of gives us a summary of our requirements and the points we can discuss. All right, guys, talking about task 1, financial and non-financial issues. So for financial, now in the exam, you can make a heading of financial issues and then write your points. It's up to you. But for each new point, make a new paragraph and leave some space and then start the next point. Can you guys do that? Yes, please ask your question. You have raised your hand. Okay. So for financial issues, you can discuss about acceptable profit margin. Is that so? So that 9.5 versus 8, explain it like properly that the current project is getting us 9.5% return and the target return in annual report is mentioned as 8, so it's more, so it's acceptable in terms of profitability. You can talk about the dividend aspect, that shareholders would like to have the dividends as they recently received it, so it's there definitely desire to keep receiving the dividends. That's also financial aspect of the project. So all projects should add to shareholders value, so you can discuss the dividends element. Remember, it was mentioned in the case study. Yes, yeah. And then you can start the discussion on financial aspect, that this project is like double the size of our best ever or bigger ever project. So maybe we cannot make a separate point out of it, but we can refer it as the introductory point. You can also talk about uncertainty in cost figures and income figures, that if cost increases, the profit margins can reduce. Talk about the sensitivity of figures maybe. Then can we also talk about the liquidity aspect of the project? Yeah, because liquidity is also important for a project. So are we receiving the cash flows interim versus how we are paying our costs? So I think again, the point you are mentioning, that's linked to liquidity aspect. Okay, then another thing you can discuss is the finance, where the finance will come in, the long-term finance. So remember, in exhibit 2, the government of Beetle confirms that the debt finance will be provided. You can also talk about the effect of debt on gearing levels, what will be the covenants on the debt, right? and then you can talk about working capital needs of the project and how they will be managed. Yeah, so these are some ideas for financial aspects. We need a total of 9 to 10 points, remember? So you don't have to cover each and every point, but I'm just giving you ideas here. Non-financial, can you guys quickly tell me some of the non-financial things we were able to highlight from the exhibits, or generally your own ideas? Reading this case study gives you some ideas that what non-financial factors might be. I would like to hear from you. Any 3-4 points? I know at this time the energy level is going down, but one last effort. Yeah, so Ikra's point is excellent. CC does not have experience of construction in mountain terrain, right? So this can lead to a lot of problems with management, with wastages, weather conditions. So talk about all these factors for explaining. Lack of experience, absolutely done. Reputational risks, and can I say environmental aspects, the social impact, disrupting the communities and all environment, natural habitats, trees will be cut, etc. Yeah. Yeah, the cost element, no, the cost is financial, right? So the time, yeah, the quality aspect, they might need new resources, new skills for this road construction in mountainside. So are these skills available? Would they be able to, hire those skills? Do they have enough operating and management systems? Are they available? So a lot of non-financial factors can be discussed. So these are again some of the ideas you can expand on in the question. Yes, you can use the big data aspect here, but I'm kind of reserving it for my last requirement, but definitely you can use it. And yes, weather and flooding. Absolutely, weather, flooding can disrupt the work, and it will be very hard then to transport materials. So I really like the way you guys are thinking. Yes, so the 20 billion versus 10 billion dollars, that is something we have discussed at the beginning of the financial aspects, and you can conclude this question nicely by saying that these are some of the financial and non-financial aspects that can affect the decision. But do you have to give the recommendation here, guys? I don't think so. Yeah, it's very clearly mentioned that don't give the recommendation. Examiner clearly said that. Okay, now let's talk a little about the briefing paper format. Actually, briefing paper has no format. You can straight away start by talking about the contract and coming to financial issues, and then straight away to non-financial issues. Yep. So sometimes not following a format is the format, but you have to be brief. You have to explain your points with the quality arguments, right? So that you get technical marks and as well as the professional skills marks. Okay, the rest of the explanation, I'm leaving it on you to read from the standard answer. So if it's your very first exam, I would suggest you to read the standard answer very carefully with full concentration, no phones around, no talking to anyone. So take 30 minutes, 45 minutes out, read it very carefully, make sense of all the points, and try to also learn how the examiner has explained a point. So examiner answers are a little too long. We cannot write that long answers because of time. Also, they might be technically very high sometimes, so it's okay not to reach that level, but learn from it. So look at the standard answer with the point, with a view of learning. with this intention. So can you guys make sure to go through the standard answers before tomorrow's session? And that's how you learn step by step. You cannot possibly learn SBL through one case study. So every day learn something new and keep building on it, and eventually you will be able to prepare. Yes, I think introduction and conclusion at the beginning, at the end is a regular feature of SBL, but not too long. Kagan, is that okay? Not a lot of things. In briefing paper, the examiner most of the times do not write to, from, date, and subject. The examiner does that with memorandum, with email, with report, but not with briefing paper, because briefing paper is kind of a document you give someone else to use for their own work. So you don't make it formal. Do you understand, Elena, what I'm saying? So standard answers needs to be covered. Not just that, but examiner report as well. So can you all check and confirm if you have standard answer and exam report, the examiner's report? So read that 2-3 page document to know what examiner has to tell you after the result of this attempt, that what were the mistakes the student made. So don't you want to read it and know that in each of the tasks which we have discussed today, what were the mistakes the students made, which I shouldn't be repeating in the exam? Do you think examiner reports are important? Tell me, everyone, confirm. Do you think they are important? So they're not just casually important, they're super important, and SBL is not an exam which can be prepared without help from the examiner's report. So I am assigning you some homework here, which you must complete before session tomorrow. Read the standard answers in full detail with the view of learning how to write, to look at the formats. Yes, you can learn the formats through standard answer, how to introduce my answer, how to conclude. So a lot of lack is there in this particular area. Students don't read standard answers properly. Okay, and then with standard answers, the marking scheme is given too. So look at the marking scheme, especially professional skills grid with examples is given, and then examiner's report to figure out what went wrong. And then we'll do one more case study tomorrow, and for next 2-3 days we'll be doing that. So think about how much improvement you can do, but if you stick to what I'm telling you. So can you all make sure to read the standard answers with marking scheme and examiner's report? One final confirmation, please. Let's see how many responses I get. Okay, that's great. So if you do these two documents, you will see that tomorrow your confidence level will be higher than today. That's for sure. With every new case study, you build on it, but students just read the question, read the answer casually, and then leave it alone. And they don't focus on important things. They don't read the answers with the intention of learning sometimes, because they are using their phones along, they're not concentrating, they are under a lot of pressure. So just read the answer and examiner's report with full concentration, spend 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and then do whatever you want to do, other things. Okay, now, yeah, so please follow the suggestions I'm giving you if you want to pass the exam. All right, Muzammil? And we'll discuss if you are able to learn anything from the standard answers tomorrow. Okay, now let's move on to the next task, part B. So what are the difficulties in minister's criteria? So I'm going to jot down some of the points. So what were those? Anything which you can tell me? So I think the minister was talking about low cost, so that will be a difficulty for us to meet. I'm not saying that we won't be able to meet the low cost, but it will be difficult. Yeah, it will be hard, it will be a challenging situation. So explain that, how it is going to be challenging for you. Okay, just a second, guys. So low cost targets, then I think a short timetable or deadlines. And what else? Yes, and disruption, least disruption to environment and society and community, right? So that will be challenging because of course they will be disrupted. So that is something we'll have to work really hard. And then one of the criteria or the aim of the project, the minister says that we want to reduce the journey times, right? So we are not sure we'll be able to complete the road, but would the journey time be reduced because of all the weather conditions and disruptions, etc.? That is something which can be challenging eventually, right? So that's part B, some of the key points. I'm going to skip task 2 here because I think we discussed PID and summary of operational issues in a little detail. The rest you can figure out from the standard answer because this case study is more for learning rather than practice. Okay, ethical and reputational issues. So again, this was covered in Exhibit 5. Very clearly, there were 5 ethical issues, remember? And then do talk about reputational impact at the end in one paragraph, or maybe with every ethical issue you can discuss the impact on reputation. But if you think that the points will be repeated, you can have the reputational discussion at the end, but don't forget about it. Okay. Task 3, part B, control weaknesses, consequences, recommendation. They were also covered through Exhibit 5 in a little detail. Now coming to task 3, part C, advantages of risk committee. So let's jot down our 4 or 5 points which were needed. So the question was asking you to discuss the advantages of risk committee. So what can be the advantages? So if there is a risk committee, this is a very new point I'm talking about. So current audit committee has all NEDs in its as its members. Yes, is that true? Guys, please confirm. So I think Exhibit 1 says audit committee is fully based on NEDs with financial, backgrounds, etc. So if there's a risk committee, this will allow some EDs to sit on the board, to sit in this committee. And EDs are the people who know the operational issues really well. So they can effectively contribute to risk management because risk committee allows EDs to sit to become the part of it, right? So they can bring in the operational knowledge and time, and non-executives will bring in the wider external prospect. So it will increase the diversity. I think some of you, someone from you guys highlighted that diversity element. Yeah, so that we are talking about here. They have business knowledge, etc. So risk committee will help in this way. Then I think overall having a risk committee provides the leadership for what? For effective risk management process. And there will be a kind of what should I say, there will be a tone given by risk committee that yes, risk management is very important, and risk committee will help embed the importance of risk management at all levels. Risk committee, if there is a proper risk committee, it will focus on risks other than finance and accounting, because all the people in audit committee are finance people, so they might be overemphasizing on audit related and accounting related risk or financial risk, so they might not be able to keep up with operational risks. So that, and then one of the problems with current project site incident, that shows a lot of mismanagement of risks. So maybe having a risk committee will help identify and take care of these kind of risks. And also if there is a separate risk committee, they can meet as frequently as needed, because the audit committee meets after like 3 months or so. And we can say that the risks are changing very frequently, so they need to meet more frequently, and audit committee might not have this time. Another point which I can think of is audit committee have its roles, a lot of work to do, so they are not actually very much emphasizing on this risk area. Yeah. And having a separate risk committee, so I'm discussing a lot of points here, can reassure your investors and shareholders and other stakeholders they will have more trust on this mechanism, maybe. Yeah. So you can choose and pick and choose some of the points which you can discuss, but there are actually a lot of points you can think of. All right, now let me tell you that in let's talk about task 4, and because some of you are not directly familiar with the CBE format, whenever you have to prepare slides, there are 3 response options given in your CBE exam. Response option means where you have to write your answer. So you are normally given a Word format, a spreadsheet format, and slides format. So you use this third response option only when the examiner tells you to make the slides. Okay, Ikra, the leadership point. So basically, I'm saying that if you have a proper risk committee, this will provide the overall leadership for the risk processes and risk mechanisms. They will, you know, kind of provide the necessary leadership needed for this company, because they have a lot of, they have a very rich risk profile, this company. Clear? Ikra, quickly confirm, please. Okay, now I'm telling you that there are 3 response options in the exam. So most of the time the answer goes in the Word format. If there are some calculations, you can use spreadsheet, but please be very careful about mentioning the number of question and the part you are solving on Word and spreadsheet both. Slides are only used when the slides are clearly required, like in task 4 you are supposed to make 2 slides. So when you click on this slide format, you get slides like this. So there are boxes defined. There's an option of bullets, highlighting, bold options, etc. And then slide 1, it's written like this, slide 1, and then it's written speaker notes 1, and there's a box. Then you have another box says slide 2. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then you have another box says speaker notes 2, then slide 3, speaker notes 3, and so on. So on the slide, you write your bullets. So for example, in this question, the first requirement was big data. So you can make headings. You can discuss benefits, 1, 2, 3 maybe, costs, 1, 2, for example, infrastructure, the cost and of collecting and analyzing the data, the technology aspect, all these costs. So you discuss the benefits and cost, not actually discuss, but write in bullets. And how many maximum bullets I told you? 4 to 5 maximum. And this way you will get 2 marks off the slide. Now for each benefit you have mentioned, discuss it in detail in your speaker notes, but not too much in detail, because the speaker notes here have 2 marks in total, and if you have to explain 3 benefits and cost, you might run out of time. So try to be quick, try to be to the point, but here you explain slide 1 content in speaker notes, but the speaker notes box looks like a slide itself, but it's okay, it says speaker notes, so you can explain here. Explain your bullets here in the same sequence, because you want to communicate effectively, right? You can actually discuss the benefits in all 3 merged, discuss them together, and cost together. But on the slide, never write long sentences or paragraphs. the communication marks will go away. Absolutely, 0 marks will be given if you write on the slide the long sentences or paragraphs. Yes, on speaker notes, write your paragraphs, write your full sentences to explain your points, but not on slides. Just be careful. And on slide 2, you will do the evaluation of new opportunity working with BTEL government. So of course, when you work with government projects, they are more reliable, they are for long term, they promise returns, etc. But also look at the downsides. So whenever you're evaluating something, don't just look at the positive aspects, look at the negative aspects, if any, just to balance out. So again, you can have 2 points positive and 2 negative, maybe 3 positive, 1 negative if there is only 1 negative. And if there is no negative point, you can still, work. But speaker notes will explain all the points you write on the slide. So that's what I can tell you about the slides for now. We will definitely be opening at least one computer based, like real computer based exam, and then we'll see the actual slides, proper boxes and all the tools. Okay, Fiza is asking, can we do one slide for benefits of big data and one slide for costs? Fiza, can you refer back to your requirement? Let me take, I think slide 2 is more generic because the points are not coming directly from exhibits. But because we are talking about BTEL's government opportunity, so government sector work benefits are generic, but sometimes you make it relevant to the company's situation by actually writing the name of the company only. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sometimes you are giving your own idea and you connect it to scenario, you make it relevant to the scenario only by using the name of the company. So that's a weak connection, that is not very strong, not just to use the name and think that it's connected, but sometimes that works. Is that clear to everyone? The connection, the weak connection I'm telling you, but having no connection at all is worse than having a weak connection with the answer. All right, guys. About the slides, one slide is for the opportunity discussion and one for big data. So we cannot make a third slide because 2 slides were clearly needed. All right, guys, this is it. For today. Tomorrow we'll be doing another case study, which is going to be from June 2019 attempt. A very different case study with a very different information profile. So we'll have a look at that. But the homework, what's the homework? Can you guys tell me? 2 things. Standard answers of this case study with marking scheme and examiner reports in detail with full concentration. It will take you an hour or so, not more than that. So come prepared and let's see if we are doing better in the next case study. And yes, Talha, that's the plan. Day 4 will cover March 20 exam and day 5 will cover June. No, it's actually March 21 exam. So March 20 and March 21, both exams will be covered. How do you know that I'm going to do these case studies? So these are a little technical in terms of the first one, especially the March 21 is technical because one requirement has so many elements in it. So that's why I've chosen it an NCCP, definitely because it is the most recent case study as well as it is a not-for-profit organization. So yes, I'll be doing that. All right, guys, thank you very much. If you have any question, you can type in the chat window and I will respond to it. If you have no questions, you can leave. Thank you very much. Take care and goodbye. No, cryptocurrency wasn't tested until now. Even if it is tested, it is going to be more towards benefits and ethical issues rather than the actual technology aspect of it. I think that's how there are more chances of it to be tested. And there's a good article, examiner's article on cryptocurrency. Do read it. Initial coin offerings. Actually, the article is on initial coin offerings. So please read that. It's in the technology area, I guess. Just search it and you will get to it. It's nicely written. It also highlights how it can be tested in SBL. Not yet, but there's a very high chance of this being tested in next couple of attempts, because it's a new topic, artificial intelligence. Again, there's a technical article on this one. I have shared it in today's handout as well, the technical article. It's very nice, and the examiner also highlights the ethical issues with artificial intelligence, and I think that is more SBL style. I think the best order, Emil, for you to solve the exam is to go in the sequence. So do it task by task, but if you want to do one specific task at the end, you can do it, but just be careful about the reference. So if requirement task 2 is done at the end, write task 2 at the end, right? So numbering is very crucial. So don't make a mistake there. And also try to cover all the parts of one requirement in one go. Don't do question number 1 part A first and question number 1 part B at the end. That will create a lot of confusion because sometimes the requirements are kind of linked. Okay. Emil, is that clear? Elena, I have answered your questions too. The recordings, Shri, the recordings will be available, I think, soon. I think the ACCA representative can better respond to it. We'll discuss about September 2021 later. I don't exactly have the topics in mind, but I will update you. Elena, is that okay? But the case study was on a sports complex. That I know for sure. All right, thank you very much, everyone. If in the CBE exam, when you are asked about to prepare slides, use the slide option, response option, the third response option, not the word format. Okay. All right, guys, this is it. I will take the rest of the questions tomorrow, and please come prepared for the standard answer and examiner report of this. Thank you very much. Take care and goodbye. All right, okay, the ACCA representative just confirmed that he will give you the option to download all 3 days handouts tomorrow. So if you have missed day 1 handouts, you will be able to download them tomorrow. And I think the recordings are also uploaded on YouTube as the sessions are taking place. So check tomorrow, and if it's not uploaded, we'll ask the relevant person and we'll confirm during the session. Thank you very much.